Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here, and of course I'm joined with Don Woodstock and Kathy Harris, and I wanted to ask Don, because you had some really interesting documents that you dug up. Can you tell us a bit about those documents?
Fortunately for me, I have a very inquisitive mind. I'm curious about things, and I have a very supportive cast who dug deep into some documents and found out that there's a lot of strings to this Crocus fiasco, and it's actually based on our findings. It's actually a Ponzi scheme. Premier Greg Selinger, the document I showed him, was his signature is on this document in 2000. That a cabinet submission was presented to him. He signed it, stating that, acknowledging that Crocus had financial problems. There's some liquidity crisis in Crocus. They got some money worries. In 2001, February, he went into the legislature and said, Mr. Speaker, there's nothing wrong with Crocus funds, everything is fine. And he allowed Manitobans to roll over their money or to keep investing in this fund. So there's a lot of question. If he knew and the insiders knew that the fund was in a liquidity crisis, how many of them pulled their money out to begin with? That's number one. Number two, if he knowing that it was going to collapse, should he not have taken a different path or a different route instead of allowing Manitobans to keep investing in Crocus?
And as it mentions in the documentation, he said that he didn't know anything about Crocus and he knew nothing about what was happening there. And of course, many lives were ruined by what happened.
And that's a lie. That's blatantly a lie. And I am here to say, as one of the independent candidates, is these are the issues that the politicians, the MLA needs to talk about, which they can't, because there's all kind of implication, there's all kind of ramifications to it. And part of the issue that this comes into play is the political parties have their own backs that they cover, and the reason why they cover each other's backs because they don't want it happen to them, where an elected official get charged and sent to prison, so they don't go there. This is where the problem is. So Manitobans is left whole in the bag. We are running down right now. The RCMP spends their time and all their resources right now is tied up with the police headquarters building. Granted, there are some irregularities, but that's not $150 million worth of irregularities. So if that's not $150 million worth of irregularities, why couldn't we have spent the same time and resources making sure that all stones are overturned? We were the one that presented the RCMP for the first time with a sworn affidavit from Jack Dalglish. So go figure this. The government of Manitoba funds the commercial fraud unit of the RCMP. When the RCMP come to investigate the government, what happened? The government put Jack Dalglish in the basement to read books, still paying him a salary, $90,000. My argument is, there's a lady, Martha Stewart. She went to prison for merely lying to the investigators. Now, how can we have the RCMP concluded this document, concluded this case, close the file without a sworn testimony or without a sworn document, an affidavit from Jack Dalglish, a senior consultant? That therein lies the problem.
So what are we about to do here at the RCMP building?
We have asked the federal government to look into this case. We have a file number. The file is open. For those Manitobans who are not aware, they have a file now open with Jack Dalglish's sworn testimony that something went wrong and that nobody had contacted him. So if you have more smoking guns, so to speak, information, please bring it to the RCMP office. But most importantly, we're asking them to look at not so much the criminal aspect of it, but to see whether or not there was a breach of trust or the very least, where you hiding evidence. What's the word I'm looking for? Obstruction of justice. Because if you can hide Jack Dalglish from the police, whoever made that decision, at very least it's obstruction of justice. At the time, Jack Dalglish and the report to Greg Selinger, which was the finance minister at the time, I'm one of those who feel strongly, Josh, that Greg Selinger needs to be held accountable for it.
Absolutely.
And the RCMP needs to get their act together, go after the people for the police station, but at the same time, don't be a political puppet for any one political party. And that's what it seemed to me, because if you can go after the police station to dig up and find receipts and go back and talk to everybody and try and get, to find where 100,000 or 200,000 was missing or $1 million, then how about 150 million?
Yeah, and an everyday citizen would be held accountable. So of course the Premier shouldn't be held to some higher standard. No? He should be held accountable too.
Yes.
So we're going to go into the RCMP building. We'll be right back after this. We're going to see what's going on. I'm not going to turn my cameras on in the building, but we'll fill you in right away. All right, so we just came out of the RCMP building here, and it was easily delivered. A few jokes from the RCMP guy at the door, and it was all good. But can you tell us a bit about what the letter you just gave him said and spoke about?
The reason why I think what you're doing, Josh, is very important, because on record now, because the last two sergeants that we spoke to at this building, they're no longer working at this building. And so we make a joke this morning that I'm sure Sergeant Paul Gillian, Staff Sergeant Paul Gillian, pretty soon he's going to be transferred to the igloo.
To another igloo.
To another, in Nunavut or something, because for some unknown reason, the people that we're talking to at this building and the people who would present this document to, for some strange reason, they seem to all get transferred.
Oh, yeah.
So we can make a note of this and we can come back again at another date and we'll tell you the fate of Staff Sergeant Paul Gillian.
Yeah, that's not suspicious at all.
No, that's not. Okay.
No.
But what we have asked, he has in his possession a copy of a letter that we are asking the federal government and the Ethics Commission as well, for the federal arm of the government, to look into this matter. And we feel that this is something that is important because there's a lot of shenanigans in our view that is not right about this whole thing. People with lesser crimes than this have been thoroughly investigated and charged accordingly. And I'm not against somebody being charged if they do something wrong. I am totally in support of the RCMP and the police department. But when you start getting you go to the police send it to the RCMP send it to the police, and then you know something is wrong. And that's what piques our curiosity that there's an issue here.
Yeah.
So and we talked to Jack, and the document we gave Greg and the document that is out there. Somebody gotta come clean to the Manitobans.
Yeah.
Somebody gotta keep them honest. Somebody gotta keep them real.
Yeah. So Kathy, what do you think about this, and what would you like to see come out of this whole situation?
Well, first of all, what we have to notice and take into account here, two agencies looked into the Crocus failure. They both investigated and came back that there were no wrongdoings. Okay? One of them was the Securities Commission, which is an independent agency. But guess what? They're funded by the provincial government, and guess who they report to? The Finance Minister.
Of course.
So then the RCMP, who do their investigation, which they did claim that they took into the account the Securities Commission's report. The fraud department here, who is to look into this claim of ours, says that no wrongdoings, there's nothing we can do for you, no criminal act. But guess what? They're funded by the provincial government.
Coincidence.
I think not.
I think not either. So if there's a cover-up here, I mean, everyone can notice it. It's starting to look very clear now as to what's been going on. So what we would like to see come out of this is accountability. We want someone who has the authority to come out and say, someone did something wrong. Now, if that is Greg Selinger, that's what we want. We want somebody to say, this person has done wrong by Manitobans, and we need to charge this person. This person needs to go to prison, and it's person or persons.
Yeah.
And they need to go to prison. And you know what? If this was a cover-up by someone in the provincial government, we need to set an example that politicians here in Manitoba cannot do this.
Yes, and I know, Don, you presented this document to Greg Selinger at the previous debate, the Downtown Biz debate, and what did he have to say about all this?
He said he would look into it. I asked him, I said, is that your signature, Mr. Selinger? And he said he'd look into it. But the reason why I make sure I gave him a copy of it, because the next time you see him, the next time I see him, I'm going to ask the question, did you know that was your signature? And he can't run away from that. Similar to when you were asking him, why is it that he's lying so much? Part of the problem that rubs me and a lot of people, including my wife and others, wrongly is because nobody seems to be in the Legislative Assembly right now who is prepared to stand up and be counted and have some backbone for what is right. All that they're interested to do is to come out and throw up these frivolous claims of what they're going to do, and it's sickening already. It's sickening already. It's disgusting. It's
almost robotics when every time you ask Greg Selinger, especially about anything, he just says, we're working on it, we're looking into it. It's the same 5 or 6 talking points every single time. So I know we're doing this report on what's going on here in these documents you have, and you're trying to get justice. Might as well throw in a plug for the election here.
Of course.
let the viewer know how you're running.
I am the independent candidate for Minto, and my slogan is keeping it real, keeping them honest. That's who I've always been. I've never been more than that outspoken individual who is not afraid to call it like it is. Okay, some people like it, and some people feel a little bit awkward about it. But the truth is, if you don't have people with integrity inside the Legislative Assembly, don't blame nobody but ourselves, Manitobans. Don't blame nobody, because we have the choice to select people that's going to stand up and be counted. The choices are there. You know, we need to get away from this party ideology and this party line. And the people who are hurt the most, which is what I don't understand, the people who are suffering the most, the people who are in poverty the most, they're the one who's jumping up in arms for Greg Selinger. And I'm thinking to myself, no.
You know, the person who was a finance minister through the 90s into the 2000s and now is a premier, and we see the amount of poverty. What has he done in that amount of time?
The one question I've been asking people at the door, and I got to tell you, Josh, for every 10 door we talk to, 7 or 8 of them are swinging my way. Okay? And that's a very good number for us. So we're doing very well on the campaign trail. Greg Selinger was in charge of Ethics Commission in the 90s into 2000. Yes. He was the guy that was charge of ethics for the government. And the very guy who was in charge of ethics for the government lied to Manitoba on the floor of the Legislative Assembly. That's wrong. That's wrong, because a lie is a lie.
Absolutely.
You can't tell me that you didn't know, Mr. Selinger, that and all of the cronies around you and all of the yes people you have around you, they will not be able to save you when that bell ring and your name is called, because your name is going to be called. And you're going to be held accountable for it one way or the other.
Yeah. Well, Don, no one can say that you don't work extremely hard for the cause of justice. You as well, Kathy. It's always good talking with you, and we ask the viewer to keep looking into this, keep pressing, and help out Don when it comes to trying to push this issue with the Manitoba government and the RCMP, because this is a serious issue. A lot of people's lives were ruined, and people need to be held accountable. So thank you very much.
$150 million.
Absolutely. It's complete insanity.
Ponzi scheme, man.
So thank you so much, and keep on watching World Alternative Media for more. We're going to keep on looking into this story and see what can be done. Hopefully we get a reply from the RCMP, and hopefully they do something. You know, it's about justice, right? So thank you very much.